Comme elle avait promis avant la semaine de relâche, la présidence souhaite faire une déclaration à propos de l'ordre.
As promised before the break week, the Speaker would like to make a statement about order and decorum in the House.
Après 8 ans de ce gouvernement, le taux d'inflation.
After 8 years with this government, inflation is the highest it's ever been in Quebec.
The honourable member, you'll have an opportunity to start with oral questions once I just make this statement to the House. Question period will follow immediately after this statement.
Question period.
Jeremy? May I ask the honourable member, please, to take his seat for a moment while I consult with the table. So, colleagues, the Speaker has the choice as to when to start question period. There will be a full question period that will follow after this declaration from the Speaker. It's important for us to make this declaration. Point of order. The Honourable House Leader from the Opposition.
Just like to remind the Chair of Standing Order 5A, time for statements by members, oral questions, orders of the day. At 2 p.m. on Mondays, not later than 2:15 p.m., as the case may be, oral questions shall be taken up. Not may be taken up, shall be taken up. It's well past 2:15, Mr. Speaker.
After consultation with the table, it is important for members to understand that we have dérogé de cette habitude de commencer.
That we have moved away from starting exactly on time.
Le président, la présidence va faire cette déclaration.
The Speaker will make a statement. It's not my intention to make this a habit. But according to the standing orders, I do have the opportunity of starting oral questions after my statement.
The honourable member from Regina.
The Speaker ought to know when rules are not followed, when there is a derogation from a rule, when that is pointed out to the Speaker then enforces the rules. These standing orders are the property of the House. It's up to the House to decide when we're not going to follow a rule or when we're going to change a rule. This is a standing order that the House has adopted. You are a servant of the House. You should follow the standing order.
I'd like to thank the honourable member from Regina Capel for pointing out the standing orders, and indeed he is correct. There are written standing orders. However, there is a long tradition in this House that the Speaker has the ability to making sure. Can I ask the honourable member to please allow me to finish as I have the floor at this time? I'll be happy to recognize the honourable member for a point of order. It is really important that we understand that the Speaker does have this ability to make a statement. We will have full oral questions at the end of this statement from the Speaker. It is an important message, which I think members would appreciate hearing, because it gives an indication as to how the Speaker is going to be proceeding in the months and years to follow. Colleagues, comme elle l'avait promis avant la
As promised before the constituency week.
Order, the honourable member from Carleton.
Every day in this House, the opposition has the occasion to respond to the actions of and hold the government accountable for its actions on behalf of Canadians. That happens at 2:15 every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That is not a may, that is not a possible, that is a shall. There is nothing in the clause that creates question period in the standing orders that allows the Speaker to arbitrarily change the time in order to give a speech. I will note that the Speaker has a plethora of occasions to stand on his feet and make any point he wants or any declaration he likes. He does not need to do it in the middle of the sacred period during which we hold the government to account. Now, I see, no, if I'm Mr. Speaker, if I may, this is the first time in all of my years here that I have seen a Speaker interrupt question period to make a speech. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And I furthermore, the fact that you've risen to your feet in order to impose apparently a series of guidelines that are not approved by the Board of the Internal Economy or voted on by the House of Commons, and that you're doing it in violation of one of the existing rules that is already in place, suggests a very serious and unusual departure from the normal way in which Parliament exists. The government is here to serve Parliament, not the other way around. We ask that you allow us to proceed with question period and you make your statement afterwards.
I'd like to thank the honourable member for Carleton for his intervention. I would like to inform the House, though, this is not the first time that the Speaker has interrupted the proceedings to make a statement from the chair between the point of SO31s and oral questions. Colleagues, so that everybody can understand this very clearly, my immediate predecessor, for example, has done this at least on 2 occasions. It also has been done by speakers in the past. I'm going to continue with this statement. I think it's important for all members to understand this, and I'd like to reassure the member from Carleton and all members that there are going to be no new standing orders that would require the approval of you members. But we're talking about, I invite you to listen to this statement. I would invite you to listen to this statement in order to be able to improve order and decorum in this House.
Good job.
Come.
Disorder in this House. That's what you've done.
Comme elle avait promis avant.
As promised before the constituency week. The chair would like to make a statement on order and decorum in the House. In a very simple way, order and decorum are signs of respect for each other and for the institution. Respect, which is necessary for productive debate in a deliberative assembly. It is, in fact, fundamental to Parliament's ability to fulfill its constitutional role.
I decided to stand for Speaker because in the 8 years that I've been a member, and prior to that as a keen follower of parliamentary proceedings, I have noticed a deterioration in the collective decorum in this place. It is important to note that this deterioration was not inevitable. It is not a natural outgrowth of the advent of social media. We can choose to conduct ourselves differently. I suspected other members felt the same way, and during the many discussions that I held recently with members from all sides of the House, confirmed this feeling. Decorum and disorder was the one issue that was most often mentioned to me in the one-on-one exchanges that I had, and not just in passing. Perhaps most importantly of all, members felt that bad behavior dishonors not only ourselves as elected members of Parliament, but also dishonors Canadian democracy.
On October 3rd, 2023, when I was invited to take the chair for the first time, I said, "We need to make sure that we treat each other with respect and that we show Canadians an example, because there can be no dialogue unless there is mutual understanding of respect. There can be no ability to pursue arguments, to make points be heard, unless we all agree to extend to each other that sense of respect and decorum."
La citation. J'en étais alors.
I meant it then. I mean it now.
Members should not be surprised by my statement today. Not long ago, on May 8th, 2023, my predecessor rightly said, in a ruling on decorum which can be found at page 14,090 of the Bates, quote, "The rules and practices governing order and decorum are intended in part to ensure that proceedings are conducted in a civil, courteous, and respectful manner. In particular, members are expected to address each other through the chair and to avoid making any offensive or disruptive remarks. For example, stating directly or indirectly that a colleague is a liar or has lied is unacceptable," unquote. The honourable member from has raising a point of order.
I would usually ask if this was a filibuster, but for the purposes of planning, I'm wondering if the Speaker might indicate to the House how long he expects to continue.
The member, this should continue it's not a point of order first, thank you, but I will let members know that it will continue for the time that it will take. It shouldn't be too long. So after... The House is a place where freedom of speech is primordial and where views are strongly held and vigorously defended. While the chair must allow the widest range of individual expression possible, members are expected to be mindful of their words and behaviors within the realm of what would be considered parliamentary. Je réitère les propos du président.
I wish to echo the words of Speaker Milliken, which can be found at page 3,719 of the October 5, 2006 debates, and I quote, "But the exercise of that freedom of speech ought to be based on the underlying principle of respect to the House and to other members. Conduct should not cause a disruption to proceedings." It would be an understatement to say that we have been plagued in recent weeks by what any observer would have to admit is an unusually noisy chamber, particularly during question period, some of the disorders being triggered by questionable language or provocative statements. But much of it also appears to be generated by interruptions, interjections, or other demonstrations, actions that seem to be designed to drown out or plainly disrupt those asking questions or those answering them. But when the noise reaches levels where no one, not even the Speaker, can hear what is being said, the House as a whole loses some credibility. So, I appeal to all honorable members for cooperation. I will continue to try to give members wide latitude in expressing their points of view. But I ask for all members' assistance in ensuring that we can all hear the member who's been recognized and who has the floor, end quote. Going forward, I will be fair and will ensure that all members, regardless of which side of the House they sit on, can freely speak their minds, vigorously hold the government to account, challenge each other's ideas, and thoroughly consider public business. As your Speaker, I will equally be looking for ways of improving the overall decorum in the House, and I will be dogged in that pursuit.
I commit to doing this as your servant and to enforce the rules that you yourselves have given the House on your behalf. I will do so with humility and also with an outreached hand. Within our purview, all the chair occupants will work collectively to ensure that the rules of order and decorum are respected, applied consistently, and to the same standards. As another one of my predecessors, the member for Regina Capel, stated on December 12, 2012, at pages 13,215 and 13,216 of debates, quote, "My task as Speaker is to ensure that the intensity of feelings expressed around some issues is contained within the bounds of civility without infringing on the freedom of speech that members enjoy. The Chair tries to ensure that our rules are adhered to in a way that encourages mutual respect. However, all members will recognize that ultimately the Speaker must depend on their collective self-discipline to maintain order and to foster decorum. My authority to enforce the rules depends on the cooperation of the House. Our electors expect all members to make greater efforts to curb disorder and unruly behavior. So I urge all members to reflect on how best to return to the House to the convivial, cooperative atmosphere I know all of us would prefer." Unquote. Étant donné l'esprit collégial,
because of the collegial character of the House and the broad privileges enjoyed by its members, no one, not even the Speaker, can act unilaterally to improve the level of decorum in the chamber. Despite my own strong individual determination to maintaining the dignity and decorum of the House, ultimately those efforts will come to naught without members themselves taking responsibility for their behavior and conduct and showing their own personal efforts in comporting their business in an appropriate and civil manner. I will therefore need your help in order to succeed.
Observed over the years as a member, the following issues have deteriorated and need to be addressed. First, excessive, disruptive, and loud heckling must be toned down. Occasional heckling has always been a part of our proceedings, and a light-hearted or clever comment will often enhance debate rather than detract from it. However, far too often, heckling is boorish and rude, designed to intimidate, insult, or drown out others. Members have a right to be heard and to hear the proceedings going on around them. The frequent and time-consuming disorder it creates must stop. Excessive interruptions must be curtailed. Deuxièmement, bien que je sois...
Second, while I'm committed to protecting the individual privilege of freedom of speech necessary for our debates, too frequently, our ideas and thoughts are expressed in provocative terms, leading to tense exchanges that harm the necessary collegiality for our work. We have in the past had members likening their colleagues to Mussolini, or calling each other racists, or shouting obscenities. Latitude in expressing one's point of view will be given, but questionable language and unnecessarily provocative statements will not be tolerated.
Finally, the growing tendency to make pointed criticism in a way that is unnecessarily personal and designed to denigrate, bully, elicit an emotional reaction, or to attack the integrity of the person introduces a toxicity to our proceedings which hampers our ability to get things done. This includes coming up with fake titles for members in order to mock them, or comments that question their courage, their honesty, or their commitment to their country. I would also include comments designed to draw attention to the absence of members as a means of embarrassing them, even though this is against our rules. As many of my predecessors have underscored, there are multiple places members must go to fulfill their duties. I will point out, there are examples of these sorts of comments on all sides of the House. Insofar as personal attacks can be limited, I will use whatever tools I have at my disposal to do so. Les problèmes que j'ai soulignés se manifestent sur
The above-mentioned issues tend to be displayed most prominently during statements by members and daily question period. This is unfortunate because this is when our proceedings receive the most attention from those watching or from the public in the galleries, and from which clips are most widely circulated on social media. These are the issues I will focus most of my efforts on resolving. While the House is master of its own proceedings and the Speaker its servant, the Chair has the authority to enforce rules of debate to maintain order and decorum so that the House may conduct its business in an orderly fashion. The standing orders of the House state explicitly that the Speaker shall preserve order and decorum and decide questions of order. This duty, which extends to the other chair occupants, carries with it a wide-ranging authority covering matters as diverse as the behavior and attire of members, the conduct of proceedings, the rules of debate, and disruptions on the floor of the chamber and its galleries.
As such, any challenge to the authority of the chair by refusing to respect a call to order, to withdraw language ruled to be unparliamentary, to cease irrelevance and repetition in debate, or to stop interrupting a member who has the floor, can be addressed through recourse to a number of options. For instance, the chair may recognize another member or refuse to recognize a member until the offending remarks are retracted and the member apologizes immediately in person or at a later time in writing to the Speaker. As a last resort, the chair may name a member, the most severe disciplinary power at the Speaker's disposal. In the days and weeks ahead, as I proceed as outlined above, I will continue my discussions with individual members as well as with House officers in the different parties to see how we can join forces in our collective objective to improve the decorum in our proceedings. Je remercie les députés.
I thank all members for their attention and invite them to reflect on the statement I've made today. I also wish to indicate that members are always free to come and see me if they wish to discuss the matter further. I thank the members.
Questions orales, oral questions. L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 8 long years of this Prime Minister, he's not worth the cost, and especially in Quebec, where the inflation rate has hit 4.8%, higher than elsewhere in Canada. After 8 years of inflationary deficits, the solution proposed by the Liberals and the Bloc is to significantly increase costs through a tax on gas and diesel that will increase the cost of every product that's transported. Will they put an end to these inflationary policies so that Quebecers can buy food and gas and housing? The Honourable Minister.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous n'avons aucune leçon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have no lessons to take from the